Wait. Before you call this idol worship, you need to understand what you are actually looking at. Because this video has been circulating online and people are asking, why is a Catholic cardinal carrying a human skull? Why kissing it? And why are they putting it inside a statue? Some people are saying this is no different from traditional religion. Others are saying this is a straight up idol worship. But is that actually what Catholics believe they are doing? Let's find out. The skull you are seeing is believed by Catholics to be the relic of a woman called Saint Agatha, and her story is actually quite remarkable. Agatha was a Christian woman who lived in Sicily during the 3rd century when Christians were being persecuted by the Roman Empire. According to ancient traditions surrounding her martyrdom, she refused to abandon her faith in Jesus Christ. She was imprisoned, she was tortured, and eventually she died for her faith. She became known as a Christian martyr. So when Catholics look at this skull, they don't see a God, they don't believe the skull is Jesus, they don't believe the bone created the universe. They believe it is the physical remains of a woman who died for Christ. And this is where we need to understand one important Catholic word: veneration. Catholics distinguish between worship and veneration. Worship belongs to God alone, and veneration is honor that they give to saints because of their relationship with God. So when someone kisses the relic, the Catholic explanation is, I'm not worshiping the bone, I am only honoring the saints. But now, here is where it gets interesting, because Catholics don't believe this practice came completely out of nowhere. No, points to the Bible. Acts chapter 19 says that God performed extraordinary miracles through Paul, and even handkerchiefs and aprons that had touched Paul's body were taken to sick people, and people were healed. Then also in 2 Kings chapter 13, a dead man's body touched the bones of the prophet Elisha, and the man came back to life. So a Catholic could say, what's wrong with honoring the physical remains of someone God used? And honestly, that's a question that is worth taking seriously. But here is my question. Does the Bible actually tell Christians to venerate the remains of dead believers? The Bible records what happened with Elisha's bones. But does it command the church to collect the bones of saints? Does Jesus tell his disciples to kiss them? Does Paul establish a system of relics? Does the New Testament tell Christians to build reliquaries and publicly venerate human remains? And this is where I need to tell you where I stand. I'm a Pentecostal Christian. I understand the Catholic explanation. I understand why they call this veneration rather than worship, but I don't believe the New Testament gives us sufficient grounds. And here is why the New Testament continually directs our attention to Jesus. Hebrews 12 verse 2 says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Jesus, not a relic, not a statue, not the bones of a saint. Jesus. And there is something else in the scripture that I find very important. In Acts chapter 10, Cornelius fell down before Peter, and Peter immediately stopped him. He said, stand up, I myself also am a man. Peter was saying, don't treat me as though I am God. I'm only a man. And then in Revelation chapter 22, John fell before an angel, and the angel said, see thou do it not, worship God. Do you see the principle? So God's servants can be honored, but worship belongs only to God. Now let's address another misunderstanding. People have looked at that sculpture and said they've put the skull inside a female idol, but that's not quite what you are saying. It's called a reliquary. A reliquary is a container or artistic structure designed to preserve and display a relic. So from the Catholic perspective, this is not a God inside a statue. No, it means we are preserving and honoring the remains of a Christian martyr. You may still disagree with that, because I also do, but we should disagree with what Catholics actually believe, not what we assume they believe. And that's why I don't think we should simply say Catholics worship skulls. No, not at all. That's not an accurate description of official Catholic teaching. Neither should we say because Catholics call it veneration, nobody is allowed to question it. As Christians, we have to test everything by scripture, because there is a very important question here. When does honor become devotion? And when does devotion become worship? That's the question. And this is why I believe Christians need to have this conversation. Not with hatred, not with insult, not with ignorance, but with scripture. Because there is a difference between understanding someone's theology and agreeing with it. So the next time you see this video, don't just look at the skull. Ask, who was Saint Agatha? Why do Catholics honor her? What do they believe this relic represents? And most importantly, does scripture support what they are doing? Because ultimately, Christianity is not about a skull, it's not about a statue, it's not about a relic, it's not even about a famous saint. It's about Jesus Christ, a woman whose remains Catholics are venerating died. The apostle died. The saints died. But Jesus is risen. And that is where I believe our eyes should ultimately be fixed. Not on the relic, not on the statue, not on the dead, but on the risen Jesus Christ. Stay blessed. You need to share this with someone.